Okay, here we are at the end of consumer law. Yay, technology. So, pardon moi. We've got the same red box, although this time you don't have to write it into your booklet again because for some reason I didn't include it. We are on page 93 of your consumer law booklet. So, technology, our favourite, online shopping. What we order, Johnny Depp, what we get, whatever that dude is on the right. The picture online is sometimes, or usually, somewhat a million times more beautiful than what arrives in the mail. A few general points about technology to start. Technology is making it easier to increase consumer awareness, so that's a positive. This has been through online publications. So, for example, one of the ACCC's guides, Consumer Guarantees, a guide for consumers. Websites, recalls.gov.au, where we can see products that have been recalled due to the fact that they are not up to standard, which was part of product certification. Social media, places like New South Wales Fair Trading have a Facebook page, or some self-help can be had by just contacting a business via its Facebook page, saying, hey, I've got a problem with this product, what can you do to help me? Businesses want to get that kind of stuff off their Facebook page, and the best way to do that is to help rectify the problem, because then they look like the good guy fixing the problem. Apps. The ACCC has a shopper app to help you take photos of receipts. Technology has led to new product types that have not existed before, and they can be hard to control. So in-app purchases on phones, especially by kids. I remember when my kids spent $50 on Angry Birds. He was 2. You don't get that money back. The ACCC has investigated this, and Apple at the time agreed to enforce password protections and inform about in-app purchases being available. But if your kid picks up your phone and you've just got it all set up as part of your Google Wallet or linked to your PayPal, they press the wrong buttons, you're stuffed. Technology has led to the growth of some terrible marketing innovations: telemarketing, fake online testimonials, misuse of social media search engines, and spam that we just covered, looking at marketing as a contemporary issue. Uh-oh. And my computer just did something really weird, but I think I've hooked it all back up. Okay, there are 3 extra points we can look at here. Mobile/e-commerce. E-commerce is a bit of an old-fashioned term for basically doing stuff online. Speed of technology versus the speed of law reform. This is a bit of an issue that we visited back in prelim. Hello, one more. And international issues. Okay, come on, click. It's just not clicking. Okay, so mobile/e-commerce is also known as paying for stuff using your phone, doing stuff online. In 2012, $18 billion was bought using mobile devices, so not just computers, but actual mobile devices. In 2017, that jumped from 18 billion to 117 billion. So people are spending a lot of money just on their phone. I know, I'm guilty. Come on, computer. Consumer Affairs Victoria released a report outlining issues with mobile commerce. Mobile commerce, opportunities and challenges for consumers, businesses and regulators. These include things such as the limited information that consumers get on the mobile version of a website, businesses not securely storing customer information or actually selling that information to other businesses. I was going to use another word there, but that just disappeared. And consumers being unsure of who they're actually entering into an agreement with and how to contact the business should something go wrong. The law in this area is tricky. There's a combination of enforcement agencies, including the ACCC, ASIC and ACMA. So Australian Consumer and Competition Commission, the Australian Security and Investments Commission, and the Australian Communication and Media Authority. Yes, we remember what they all are. Okay, one group that usually gets forgotten, is ACAN, the Australian Communications Consumer Action Network. This is a non-government organisation that's funded by the government, but the government then gets its money back from the telecommunications carriers. They aim to influence the government and provide information to consumers through publications like Safe Smart Payments by Consumers, put out by ACAN back in 2014. There is also a mix of laws and codes, for example, the Voluntary e-Payments Code. ScamWatch is a website run by the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission, oh my God, the ACCC, and provides information to consumers and small businesses about how to recognise, avoid and report scams. Okay, when we look at the speed of technology versus the speed of law reform, remember this from the Year 11 course, as I pointed out earlier, from the individual and technology. We pretty much looked at the exact same information then, doesn't hurt to look at it again. So it is impossible to predict all of the future technological advances and their consequences. This means that the law is always reactive. It is dealing with the changes after they've happened. For this reason, there is usually a time lag between new technologies being available and the development of laws to regulate and control their use. Because we have common law, a judge has the power to examine a case and, if needed, create a precedent that will bring about a just outcome. Now, before I talk about Justice Kirby, but remember these cases actually have to go to court in order for a judge to make a judgment that then becomes precedent, which puts a law in place. Okay, so former High Court Judge Michael Kirby came up with some reasons why future law reform will be difficult because of technology. 1, the people making the laws usually have little idea of the technology. Number 2, if some use of technology is made illegal here, most people will just find another country where it is legal. For example, people using different VPNs to access international versions of Netflix, etc. And limiting the use of some technologies will get in the way of people's human rights. Thirdly, lastly, international issues. Consumer rights when dealing with international transactions are tricky. Technically, your rights when buying something from overseas online apply the same as if you bought it in an Australian shop, unless it's from a private seller and it's not a usual commercial transaction, or it's bought via an auction site like eBay. The problem is with the enforcement of those rights. Overseas businesses selling to Australians are supposed to follow the ACL, but it's hard to enforce. One could even just claim to have no knowledge of Australian consumer law, and therefore the idea of accessibility is taken away and makes it difficult. The important issue to make sure that foreign businesses comply with our domestic laws, even though they're overseas, is to try to make other countries pass similar laws so that it's illegal on their side too. The United Nations has encouraged member nations to pass consumer rights laws based on the UN Guidelines for Consumer Protection, which they did way back in 1985. These guidelines have been helpful in pushing countries to pass domestic consumer laws, which helps us because overseas sellers will not only be breaking our laws, but they'll also be breaking theirs. They have been criticised, though, for being vague, overblown and unnecessary. They were updated, thankfully, from 1985 to 2015 to include a new section on online consumer disputes with businesses in other countries. But like every UN recommendation, individual governments have to pass laws to reflect what the UN would like to happen because of state sovereignty. Look how smart, yeah. There are a few international agencies that try to deal with global consumer right issues. They are Ecommerce, the International Consumer Protection and Enforcement Network, which is a group of 50 consumer protection agencies, for example, Australia's ACCC and the UK's Office of Fair Trading. It encourages these agencies to cooperate with cross-border consumer disputes. Another one we have is the OECD, or the Organisation for, oh my God, I can't word anymore, the Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development. The OECD, Committee on Consumer Policy, is an intergovernmental forum that meets to encourage its members to protect their consumers through their consumer laws. They also launch initiatives to improve information for consumers. For example, the OECD Global Recalls Report, globalrecalls.oecd.org, and they publish reports about international consumer issues, for example, report on consumer protection in online and mobile payments. Consumers International is an NGO, non-government organisation, that brings together national consumer rights groups, for example, the Consumer Federation of Australia. Finally, lastly, as always, to finish it off, episode of the checkout, there will be a link in the supplementary clips, and that's it, guys. That is the end of consumer law. So happy studying for your trials, and we will start family law soon, and that will be our final unit of work for Legal Studies HSC. All right, guys, have a good night. Bye.